everybody looks forward to, I think, every week. And that's the recruiting roundup, the recruiting update on what's going on. And obviously we've got some updates here.
Yeah, I mean, so recruiting is very interesting. You know, we have some of the fan base who is getting a little uncomfortable with the lack of commitments, seeing teams like Ohio State, like Notre Dame, like USC, like Oregon really starting off hot right now. And Michigan is still in a position where it does not appear that too much is on the horizon. Now, there is a player here we will hit on where he is potentially on the horizon, but one of the things that has come to fruition is that Michigan's approach right now is because of revenue share, and it being I believe it's either June 1 or July 1. I'm not sure on that. Going into effect, Michigan is not committing to dollar amounts to any of these kids until the revenue share is passed, which it will be. It will be. But Michigan's taking I will say a conservative approach into, like, you know, Michigan fashion. You know, that's what they do. There is a conservative approach going on right now in terms of guaranteeing dollar amounts to these kids this early in the stage. So it's something we have to be mindful of. But and we'll get into why this is affecting some of these recruitments, which we will get into some of these players where it is affecting them more than others. But we'll jump into Brady Smeagol. This is an interesting recruitment because we were in on Brady Smeagol. Then we were out on Brady Smeagol. Then we're back in on Brady Smeagol. Then he's trending to Washington, and we're out on Brady Smeagol. Well, guess what? Brady Smeagol's visiting this weekend because Washington appears to be trending in a different direction. And it's not just that either. He was going to visit anyways, but it does appear that currently Washington's looking at some other quarterback prospects, and Michigan may be in a position to make a move here with Brady Smeagol. We do know that there is other quarterbacks like Ryder, Lyons, which we'll get into, who are a bit higher on Michigan's board. But I do think Brady Smeagol is a player where if they do strike out on a Ryder, Lyons, they will look at a Brady Smeagol. They're definitely looking at a Nathan Bernard, which we'll get into him too. But it's just an interesting development with the Brady Smeagol recruitment. We'll definitely stay on top of that. It's a player to know. It is a player that could potentially be in this class, but it's something we just need to be aware of. Ryder Lyons is the quarterback that Michigan is heavily pursuing. He just visited this past weekend. It went really well. It went very good all weekend. Michigan did a great job on the recruitment. Michigan has put themselves in a good position. The next step for the Ryder Lyons recruitment, and we got the highlight tape going on. If you are not familiar with Ryder Lyons, dual threat quarterback, has all the potential with his arms, his feet. The video is a bit choppy here, but regardless, you know, very good player. It's straightened itself out, but good arm. He is what Michigan is considering the next quarterback after Underwood, because even though he is a 2026, he's truly a 2027 due to the fact that he will be on a mission with his church for that time being. And then he will come to Michigan 2027, which will give him 1 year under development under Bryce Underwood. And that is what Michigan wants to do. And it does kind of fit the timeline. And, Michigan's doing their best right now to get him because this is who they want. This is their priority for 2026. We'll see how that one goes. The next quarterback we're going to talk about, though, is Nathan Bernard. Okay. He's really come on lately. And the reason why we're bringing him up again, even though we talked about him last week, is because, and I told you guys last week, things are trending quickly here. So this is one of the players where a commitment could be on the horizon. And it could even be accelerated now because the school, and this is, he is kind of holding out right now for Ohio State to give him an offer. Well, they're not. They're not. And Ryan Day just saw him over the weekend. Just saw him recently. And Ohio State has not extended an offer to Nathan Bernard, who is based out of Ashland, Ohio. Okay, so he grew up an Ohio State fan. And because of the way this is currently transpiring, it looks like Michigan has a great opportunity here to secure this quarterback to be in the class, to be your floor. He's your floor quarterback, right? You're going to swing for Ryder Lyons. You're going to go for Nathan Bernard. And that's kind of the approach right now. Michigan not only did he visit recently, Michigan also visited him today in person. Okay, so Michigan is trying to close here. They want him in the class. It is my opinion. This is an assumption. If Michigan feels that they can land him, then they can go with house money and go a lot more aggressive with the Ryder Lyons because they've already secured themselves for 2026. And then they can really swing even more aggressively for Ryder Lyons. That's my opinion. It's how it looks to be shaken out. We'll kind of see how that one, transpires over the next week. He could be committed by the end of the week. It's like that. It could be any day, any week now. Savion Hyder, this is a big one. There were some fake accounts yesterday predicting him to Ohio State, right?
That
Some
vile,
crazy.
disgusting cesspool in Columbus, as Mays says.
Do not believe the hype. Okay, it was fake. This recruitment is still in Michigan's position. Michigan's still doing a great job here. We know Savion Hyder is taking a very low profile approach to his recruitment right now. He's also dealing with some things personally in terms of like family situations. But Michigan is going to be hosting Savion Hyder for an official visit. I believe it'll be June 13th through the 15th. That'll be the opportunity for Michigan to close here. And the reason why this recruitment is so critical is because Javion Osborne, as we know, Michigan has been in on pretty aggressively. Well, this is one of those recruitments where because Michigan is not being aggressive with an actual number, and Notre Dame is, and Notre Dame's very aggressive right now with their NIL for him. Although Javion Osborne is going to be visiting Michigan, okay? He's going to be visiting Michigan this weekend. It does appear to be trending Notre Dame very aggressively. And because it's trending Notre Dame very aggressively, the Savion Hyder recruitment is critical because if Michigan swings and misses on both these guys, that's not good. Like, let's just call it what it is. That is a bad play. Now, I would argue, some might say, well, then Tony Alford's the problem. And Ohio State fans would be like, we told you.
Yeah, we told you.
Even though he landed Justice Haynes, the number one portal running back in December portal, we told you, they're going to do that, right? Or they're going to be like, oh, it's the hammer. It's, some crazy.
Yeah, the hammer. The hammer's why.
No.
Yeah.
The real potential issue is because Sean McGee, and look, we're going to give our credit to Sean McGee. He's done a good job, but he is being a bit conservative right now, and it could be hurting us. Now, even if we miss out early, there is the opportunity to win these battles in October, November, and signing day. Okay, that's something we have to be very mindful of. It's not over. The window is not closed. But I will say that because of the conservative approach, guys like Osborne, guys like Cantwell, it's hurting our recruitment with them. Jackson Cantwell, the next player we'll talk about, the number one player in this year's class, number one offensive tackle, a true cornerstone franchise player. He is currently, it's a 3-team race now. Michigan's out. Michigan is currently out on the Jackson Cantwell recruitment. And that 3-team race is Miami, Georgia, and Oregon because they're willing to play ball and give numbers right now. Michigan is not willing to give specific numbers, which is really turning off some of these players. And it's because of they want to wait and see the revenue share thing pass and before they go in that direction. The situation here, much like some of these other players, is Michigan could decide to enter into these bidding wars later in the recruiting cycle. And that's just kind of where we are. And it is a bit unfortunate and it is a bit frustrating. As a fan, although I understand the long game here, I am a bit frustrated that we're pouring on gas. We're all aggressive. Look at basketball portal. Look at us in December. Some of the money we spent. Look at how we closed the 2025 class last cycle. Aggressive. And here we go again. Conservative, cautious approach, even though we have the NIL funding. But at the same time, I want to be mindful and be like, okay, but the reality is we have 8 months in front of us. Okay. And I think Michigan, that's their approach here. Is like, well, you know what? If we don't give them a figure right now, we can't have other schools out negotiate against us. They're not negotiating against us. We're not bidding against ourselves. And we know once closing time comes, well, then, and once these other schools deplete their fund, once these other schools spend their money and they only have so much more for the 26 class, well, Michigan has a damn reserve, a war chest of NIL funds, and they can just, Shamari Earls, Nate Marshall, Jamar Browder, Ty Haywood. I kind of feel like that is their game. But I just want to caution everybody. That is why we're swinging a little bit on some of these top guys right now, and they're currently trending elsewhere. But just because you lose the battle does not mean you lose the war. So just be mindful of this. I'm just trying to make sure our community, especially our community, in my opinion, is an educated community. You know, some of these other, and no disrespect, but they're just not up on it. They're not aware of the dynamics that we're seeing right now. The next player we'll talk about is Malakai Lee. This is a big one. This is Michigan's, I would say, the tackle underneath Jackson Campbell that they're trying to get. Michigan is currently visiting him today in person. They're looking to continue building the relationship. He just visited a few weeks ago. Our very own friends, Maze Madman, I believe it was Maniac and Kinetic, did an interview with him. All things were good. Michigan's in a great position. The next step for Michigan for the Malakai Lee battle is the June 20th official visits, which will be Victor's weekend, by the way. Big time. It is a Michigan USC battle. We'll see where we are. I currently like Michigan's position here. So that's big time. So we'll be on top of that one, but I wanted to bring to everyone's attention that Michigan is personally, again, visiting him in person. They did it in January. They're doing it again in April. They're putting a lot of resources into him. The next player we'll talk about is a personal favorite for me. This is my must get. Him and Travis Johnson are like my personal prospect crushes of the cycle. Carter Meadows, guys, which will pull up his tape. This kid is 6'5", like 225 pounds right now. Crazy length, freak. A 5-star, number 6 player in the nation. Extremely focused on academics. Has a 3.95 GPA. He loves Michigan. Michigan loves him. He recently visited Michigan, and Michigan has positioned themselves in a great position. There are some people in the insider circles who feel Michigan is leading here. Michigan's in a great, strong position with him, and he just declared recently that he is going to visit Michigan for, you guessed it, June 20th, Victor's weekend, where Michigan's going to pull out all the stops and try and close a bunch of guys and really build their class for the momentum of into the season, so then they can start closing in October, November, and December. So we need to be on the lookout. This player, I think we're in a great position for. And I'll be honest, if we don't get Carter Meadows, this is one that's going to hurt me. My heart's going to hurt, and I'll be sad for like 24 hours, maybe 48. So,
yeah.
You know, it's like, if you remember last year, Marquise Davis was my crush for the class, and we unfortunately, Kentucky tripled his damn offer. And then
I remember.
And then what happened, John? In December, Missouri took him. Because that's how this goes. It doesn't. These kids can commit in April, in June. It means nothing. I mean, it's just unfortunate reality of the situation is with NIL the way it is. It's the long game. It's not the short game. Although I will say there are kids who do remain loyal to their commitment, and they stay with the class all the way through. I mean, it's, so there's pros and cons to each approach. Next player we'll talk about here this is another big one for Michigan. It's Shadarius Toodle. And the reason why this is big time is because unfortunately, it seems like Brian Jean-Marie is putting all of his eggs into one basket, or at least just a couple baskets. And we haven't really talked about a lot of linebackers this class, John, but we have talked about Shadarius Toodle. But here's the problem. He's committed to Auburn. Now, he did just visit Michigan over the weekend. And what's interesting here is Michigan is going to visit him in person again on Thursday. They just saw him. They're going to see him again on Thursday. His dad is on record as saying Michigan made a major move this weekend.
Wow.
So we'll see where we are there. But we will say is Michigan does have an official visit scheduled with Shadarius Toodle for May 30th. So let's be on the lookout for that. I will say if Brian Jean-Marie swings and misses on him, he's got to figure it out, because the linebacker board is very I don't know. It's Juju would probably say it's garbage, but at the end of the day, we'll see how that one transpires. Again, it's April, it's early, and here's one thing I'll promise you: there's going to be players, there's going to be elite players that we don't even know about, like that are not on our radar right now, that Michigan will begin engaging with in June, in July, all the way to signing day. So let's be on the lookout for that. The last thing I want to hit on regarding the recruiting update, and it's regarding the portal. Michigan will be portal shopping, okay? And tomorrow is the beginning of the portal where players can officially enter that portal. the positions we need to be on the lookout for is quarterback, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and punter. I am going to guarantee that we will land a punter. I feel confident, extremely confident we will land a wide receiver. Be on the lookout for Skylar Bell, by the way. That's a name that keeps kind of going on in the back channels. And offensive tackle, Michigan is going to be looking for that left tackle solution. And I'm curious if maybe they land a right tackle and then they do what you proposed, John. Andrew Sprague, the left tackle. I'm curious if that's the move. We will see. But Michigan is definitely going to be targeting an offensive tackle. We'll see, because we know, and this is one thing that does concern me here. If Sean McGee is being conservative right now, is he going to be conservative with the portal? I don't know. He was conservative to an extent in December, although he did land some good players like Trey Williams and Damon Payne, Justice Haynes. These were big-time players. These were big-time gets. I do anticipate Michigan adding some players here. Should only strengthen the roster. The other thing that's interesting, guys, is Michigan has to get to a roster count of 105. We were in like the 120s. We might be in the 1-teens now. We will be losing some players. So far, and we can now, if you want to transition into like who we've lost, John, but so far, it really nothing's really bit us yet.